Hello everybody. I'm going to talk today about journaling, about whether or not journaling is a good idea, and whether or not if you do it really well, you can actually manifest your ideal life. Yeah, let's go for the full Monty. So if you've been advised maybe that journaling should be a good thing for you, but you're kind of struggling with the idea or the practical side of it, watch on. If you're wondering whether or not by doing so, what will be the end result, then I can give you a few pointers of that and the kind of the reasons why I think it's useful. Because I was also kind of advised that journaling would be a good idea when I started on this journey, whatever you want to call it, of being kinder to myself or integrating all of myself or being a congruent individual or accepting myself. I don't know what you want to call it, but whatever it is, being a human being, let's say, I was advised that journaling would be a good idea, and it felt a bit weird. It's like, is it really a good idea to be writing stories to myself? It just kind of felt a bit strange. So let me tell you why it's a great thing, why it works, how it feels, and whether or not indeed you can, kind of manifest your magnificence through it. So let's start off with what journaling is, right? Because for me, journaling is simply giving an outlet to everything which is going on in your mind, okay? And this is something which we know works because, as a simple example, novelists use it, right? So when someone needs to get down to writing a chapter in their book, okay, they'll sit there, and I don't know if they've got a pen and paper or if they're using a computer or whatever it may be, but they sit there and it's like, right, so now I need to write. So the first thing they typically tend to do is this kind of brain dump, yeah? So you just write for the waste paper bin, yeah? You just transfer every thought which is going on in your mind, just scribble it down. So it's almost as if your hand is just working on its own. It's just writing down every thought, every feeling, everything that you notice, everything that you become aware of. You just stick it down on paper. And if you're like me, what happens is you tend to have a louder, dominant voice which feels like you, let's say. This one starts off straight away. So this one, you're writing. And then there's a pause, but you're still talking from that kind of base position. So am I done? And then off it starts again, and something else comes forward. And that might happen 2 or 3 times, but then there is a certain point at which that dominant loud voice inside your mind has kind of done it. It's kind of expressed itself, and you feel a little bit freer, a little bit quieter, and the other voices inside of you have more space, more permission maybe, to express themselves. So there is a law in, I don't know if you want to call it a law in hypnosis or a law in psychology, but basically the more thought process, the more conscious thinking that you use, the less space there is for your non-conscious or subconscious or the back of your mind or your creative elements to express themselves. Yeah. So what you're doing by this process is actually getting that chattering part to have done its thing. It's said everything it needs to say. So you're almost sort of doing an internal cleansing of this chattering part of your mind. So for me, one of the fantastic benefits of journaling is that it's a sort of a halfway house towards meditation. Yeah. So if you're kind of having a bit of a challenge with journaling, you're probably also having a bit of a challenge with meditation, right? So the idea with meditation is that you find your comfortable space, you find somewhere quiet, you sit there in your lotus position, you do a few deep breaths, you maybe do some ums, and then you hope that your mind goes sufficiently quiet that whatever is permitted will come up, right? But typically what happens when you start meditating is that maybe there's a sort of a sort of an intrinsic panic as to, okay, am I still there? What's going on? And then your voice chips in, well, have you remembered this? Look at all these things that are on your to-do list. These things have passed their deadline. Or did you tell such and such that you're going to meet them next week? Or is someone going to bang on the door or press the doorbell? And did you turn the gas off? And all these things that are in your mind. So it can be quite hard to begin the process of meditation. And what I've discovered from journaling is that it gets you in the habit of stabilizing and accepting your louder voice, so it becomes a more palatable route to meditation. So in actual fact, once you've got this journaling process off, it's much easier to go towards meditation. You don't need to do the journaling, in actual fact, to get to the meditation, but it's a good way of learning the thought mechanics to get you on the way towards meditation. Okay, so having done the brain dump, so you're sat there, you've written for the rubbish bin, you've got probably 2 or 3 pages without even realizing it, and then things go quieter, and then you're giving yourself permission to express parts of you that are less likely to be normally expressing themselves when this noisy one is talking. And so you come up with a lot of creative, interesting thoughts. They're quieter, but they also feel like you, but they're less limited. They're freer. They are more curious sometimes, in actual fact. They're more open-minded. And so when you start to write all of that down, the end result is you kind of discover a creativity inside of yourself that you weren't really aware was there. And that's a fascinating thing. So you'll come out of a process that may only take 5 or 10 minutes with a few pearls on there. And the reason why that can turn into a manifestation dream is that in order to create a lovely, ideal life, well, A, you have to know where you are, you have to take stock of where you are, and B, you need to know where you're heading. A lot of people actually don't ask themselves the question of what it is that they truly want, because the chattering mind, this inner critic, gets in the way. And by permitting everything to just come out in the journaling process, you start to notice your quieter goals, your quieter feelings. And then, because you get the opportunity then to read it back, it gives you a set of compass points, it gives you a set of hooks, so that when everything around you does what it does, right? The abundance of the world that in actual fact is always there. Well, suddenly you pay attention to the things that otherwise you wouldn't have done had you not done the journaling. So the journaling is a sort of a grounding process, not a grinding process. It grinds you, it grounds you, it centers you, and it gives you those pointers towards the things that are apparently important to the back of your mind. And then in the day-to-day life, when anything comes up which feels a little bit like that, suddenly you pay attention. So that's how you can end up manifesting an ideal life from it, because you're starting to pay attention to things that you weren't aware were on your stepping stones towards where it was that you wanted to go. I think that's all I need to say. If that makes sense, I heartily recommend that you give it a try. Give it a try for a few weeks, okay? Because you don't notice immediate changes from this. It takes a while for the universe to give back on the basis of what it is that you're looking for. But give it a month, give it 30 days and see how you feel at the end result of that, because you might absolutely astonish yourself. It's a fantastic way of learning things about yourself that you weren't aware, and it's a fantastic way of observing sides to you that ordinarily are kind of limited by this chattering part of your mind. Hope that's of interest, yeah? If it is, go check out my other videos, subscribe, let me know down below what your experiences are, and indeed whether or not it actually is a good segue into meditation, because for me it was a very, very similar feeling, let's say. So I came to habitualize that feeling, and so that's why it became so much easier to meditate a result. All right, thank you very much for watching, and take care until next time. Cheers. Bye.